Hey, everyone. Yeah, I'm going to take a little step back from technology and talk about onboarding users, especially from the centralized exchange perspective, where, quite frankly, we've seen a lot of crap. And I've been at Kraken for 6.5 years, so it feels like an absolute eternity in crypto. But we have seen a lot of ups and downs, a lot of people get wrecked, a lot of interesting noob questions. And so, yeah, this is kind of aimed at just how do we get a lot of the things that we always think about when we're building applications or building anything around DeFi, but we don't really talk about enough. I think as we're building these products, like I said, everybody has this on their minds, but it's really hard to get this in practice when we're all somewhat in a little bit of a bubble. We make apps the same way, and we kind of don't really break that cycle. So again, this is just a little bit of perspective on how Kraken sees this, or like some of the weird stuff that we get outreach to. So a little bit about me. Like I said, 6.5 years at Kraken. It'll probably be the place that I still work when I die. I don't really want to leave, but I've done a ton of stuff here. Joined in the early days when it was only a handful of us engineers, and then kind of bounced around everywhere. Worked on the hot and cold wallets, made the parachain auction system, so I got to go talk to Gavin after. And then now running all the on-chain stuff at Kraken, so that involves our L2, which is Inc., and then any other kind of on-chain products that we make there. So yeah, the current state of DeFi and all the people that, again, reach out to us about like what can they do with crypto, what kind of utility do they have. Doing research for this, I connected with a few on our customer support team and saw some chats around like how people are asking these questions. Again, it's very, very interesting, and some things that we take for granted, a lot of other users don't. So let's make sure we're always in the sunshine and rainbows and pizza and stuff, and get out of the trenches and the scams and all that. So what do we see? A lot of our users are, of course, getting into this for the meme coin meta, betting, gambling, which isn't bad. People should have freedom of choice to be able to do those things. But then when they jump out of that, there's a lot of rehashed ideas, reskins, forks. It's okay if you put your own flavor on it. That's totally fine. But it's a lot of the same stuff that we're seeing, and then we have to educate users on like, okay, this is actually the same protocol that came from this one and this one and this one. And so it's this promised land of real utility, which is kind of a meme, right? Everybody wants to do a token. Maybe the utility is only governance. But it's a little stale on how our users view a crypto if it's just governance. So of course, if you have that real utility, hopefully blending some kind of real world use case, you're in long-term success. And we really want it to, we really want the people being, actual users and not the holders, right? We actually have people that have reached out and have used protocols where it looks like there's a high TVL, but it's really like 5 people that own like 90% of the supply in something, and then something weird happens, and then we have to educate on, what it means to actually have TVL versus users. And then we tell them to go read a block explorer next time, and they're like, what the hell's a block explorer? So we definitely are in some kind of bubble with how we view our technology or how we build. And then another parallel is holding fiat idly. It's not really the same as being in an economy. I mean, it kind of is, because we have to buy everything, our goods, and pay mortgages. But if you're just holding fiat idly, and you're not earning like any kind of savings or something, you're not really participating in anything. And then an interesting data point, I wish I had the actual number, is a lot of people in the US, a lot of my peers and extended family, don't really know what to do with their money. Obviously know nothing about DeFi, but they don't know what to do with their money beyond like a 3 or 4% savings account. That's like how you grow wealth to the average kind of normie. But of course, as we all know, there's a ton more opportunities that you can jump into with DeFi. So some of the barriers to mass adoption. I absolutely love this tweet. Try to read all of it, I guess. But like the gist is, come on chain, create a SEX account, buy some ETH, withdraw to your EUA, write down your words, get a ledger, get 2FA, all these different forks of protocols, blah, 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 add the RPC, and then the finality is like, we need to fix this by a lot. There's a reason why Kraken supports or invests in something like a 400, 500 person support team with a lot of rotating people in that, because it's, quite frankly, it's kind of hell out there, right? Like there's just so much that people don't know how to manage this. And so it honestly scares people to just want to stay on a centralized exchange, which isn't bad for us, like people that are going to trade and we're going to make fees on it. But of course, our promised land is to make sure that the masses are using this and able to benefit from what makes crypto crypto, right? So yeah, the UI UX complexity. We're trying to internally retire the name wallet and think like, okay, let's just not use the word anymore. Account, whatever, maybe something magical, but there's gas fees associated with it, of course. There's bridges. All of this is way too technical. Majority of our users have no idea what any of that is. Again, it just scares people. And this is a fun data point, when you're thinking of your applications and UI and UX, is only 20% of our 15 million accounts have ever withdrawn from Kraken. That's it. So I don't know, that's pretty major, right? Like, we get these support tickets. People ask us, like, what can I do with my crypto? I just bought this. I want to trade it for this on chain. We tell them about it, and then they just kind of get scared, and they stay on the exchange. So a lot of work to do. There's all the support tickets and things around scams, rug pulls, hearing on the news that somebody got wrecked, one of their friends got wrecked. Whatever it is, we have to educate them on that. Too many chains. I'm guilty of that. We launched one at Kraken, but of course, there's so much awesome work going on to abstract everything. I think the point, though, is kind of building these applications that don't really have like a launch app button, because there's another, I wish I included it, but there's another tweet I saw recently where it was like, you go to a company's Twitter, you see the link tree. Okay, now there's a link to their website, and then now there's a link to launch the app. It's all these different jumps to get to just where you're actually using the crypto. And maybe we don't take a step back enough and think about, like, okay, instead of it being launch app, why isn't it just log in? Make it feel like something in Web 2. And then 7702, of course, solves a lot of these problems. Bundling transactions, spend limits, passkeys, all that good stuff. But there's, again, thinking like in the Web 2 sense, when we're building any kind of application, if we're doing like a rideshare app or whatever it may be, and you want to split the bill, then why not have something with 7702 that's bundling, like, okay, it splits it 50-50, each get a notification, each sign, and then it like requests the app. I think, yeah, there's a lot that can be done there. So what does true onboarding looks like? Especially, yeah, this guy chilling on a beach, and then it's thinking like Web 2, the seamless, intuitive user first. I think Uniswap is doing an awesome job with their rollout recently, where you don't really have to think about what chain you're on. You're just kind of selecting the asset, and it's like abstracting it. I think that there's still more to go, but it is starting to abstract it, make it intuitive. Again, think outside of our crypto bubble a little bit. It's hard, but I hope maybe Kraken can open source, of course, with everybody's identity protected on some of these support tickets, so that people really see how bad it is out there. I think I have some repeated bullets here, but the main thing is the Web 2 style onboarding is what we got to think about. So building for utility, not just speculation. Here's another one recently. This was like a summary of the DeFi summer days, and where were people having hits of dopamine when they're using DeFi? So there's the example of early PancakeSwap, Trader Joe LPing on Avalanche, LPing on DeFi kingdoms. I was told to not make this analogy because like doctor's office is kind of not fun a lot of times. But like if people are sitting in their doctor's office, a lot of people are playing like whatever Clash of Clans, some weird mobile game, and then why not tie that into crypto, right? It's always about like thinking the user first, not our technology first. I know that might be a bad thing to say, but stepping back from technology, user first, they're sitting there playing a game. Let's hit their dopamine. Let's have fun with it and make sure that they're incentivized to maybe make some money or just have fun with their crypto again, right? And then there's another example of GLP on GMX in the early days. And then, of course, he was asking for, like, where is dopamine yield sources? We can make yield fun. We absolutely can. We can put some kind of gaming into it. So again, like DeFi use cases that solve real-world problems, remittances and savings, that's an awful word to say, remittances. That's like, of course, just like sending money, but that's such a simple use case that we get outreach on. It's like, how do I send to my family? And people don't know even how to like add a withdrawal address or what they do with crypto. Success stories from emerging markets. I think we're very, again, maybe in a little bit of a bubble and privileged in the West, and it's very easy for us to get bank accounts or to use this stuff, but time and time again, we see support tickets from the Kraken side about how much this enabled them to do something in some emerging country. And then sustainable yield versus Ponzonomics. I love the Ponzonomics, it's fun. But what's going to keep people not giving us support tickets of having to justify or explain why they got wrecked or the price dropped or something, then it's definitely incentivizing that sustainable yield, people doing good strategies on chain that's going to be responsible with some risk, of course, with people's funds. And then we're really passionate about this dopamine topic at Kraken. So I can't emphasize enough making crypto fun again, thinking from the user first perspective. And I don't know, the dopamine topic on crypto can probably go on for ages, but there's not enough of it. And then how can crypto tech provide a better experience for non-money apps? This is like, we kind of do something on chain at Kraken. If somebody's a junior developer, a fun experiment is to ask them to design like a Web 2 application that they would normally make with like a GraphQL database, some Redis cache or something. So they design the whole thing, and then it's like, okay, take every component and replace it with some kind of Web 3 tech. A lot of cool things spawn from that, which often has like the user experience first, and then also blending in some of those real-world use cases like, social, restaurant apps, what have you. And then ecosystem design. I think this is more, real-world stuff. So the things that we use daily, I don't know, I'm sure a lot of people vape, but this is an awesome, I think, little experiment, right? I think Bearchain did this, and it's incentivizing people to vape and not smoke. And then Blackbird is another, which is kind of like a restaurant application that's definitely look it up. It's really cool, but it incentivizes people to kind of have this like chain of reputation and trust on giving reviews to restaurants instead of it just being like a Yelp review of, I don't know, the sauce was bad and therefore you give it 1 star, right? There has to be some kind of incentive and quality behind like the content that people are putting out there. And then again, these reputation systems, like we have Kraken Verify, and rethinking your applications from the user first is, okay, what's the Web 2 way of doing social? It's like likes and upvotes. But then there's all kinds of new like social graphs that we can create where you have the reputation of somebody staking the reputation on another and another and another in this big chain that I don't think we've tapped into yet on kind of reworking how we're getting good quality content to users. And our issue here at Kraken is this education piece. So like more learn to earn things with your applications, more incentivizing content creators, gaming, more gamified onboarding and quests, bounties and simulations. I think there's a lot of bounties in the L2 space, especially in quests, but there can always be more of it. And then this one's kind of controversial, is not everything can be solved by Discord. I don't really have an answer to this, but I think Discord is extremely played out. A fun analogy we had internally was like Taylor Swift doesn't need a Discord to have like a community. So how can we create like those applications that feel like they have use cases in the real world that, I don't know, might attract Swifties or get some kind of reputation that doesn't require just like making a Discord and having the same playbook in crypto go over and over and over again. Yeah, block explorers. Like I said, we've had many tickets where people need their handheld to navigate block explorers. I think that's also something we take for granted. We know how to navigate them. The average user does not. So how do we abstract this block explorer a little bit more? Yeah, and this is kind of a cheesy analogy, but like if you're buying something, you don't have to query like a DB manually with SQL to see like has your order shipped. It feels like that to the average user right now. Is like, okay, what happened to my crypto? Well, go navigate these blocks, like find out what you did with the contract. So yeah, there's a lot of work to do there with displaying to your users like how their transactions are actually behaving. Okay, I think near the end here, vision for mass adoption. We have a very simple call to action of just making apps simple. For our support ticket's sake, please. And then what success looks like in DeFi, blending these real-world use cases, have it be in everyday life. And then there's a repeated bullet there again. You don't have to query DB to find out if an order is shipped. But that embedding DeFi into everyday life, I don't have any like Inc. announcements today. I wish I did. There's some stuff around the corner. But this also involves in our unique perspective, is embedding DeFi and on-chain opportunities within the core Kraken products. There's a lot more to share there soon. So again, I wish I had more to show off with that, but we will be embedding a lot of that into the core Kraken like ecosystem. So hopefully that gives a little bit of inspiration for how we're going to simplify on-chain interactions and make it feel very Web 2. So we don't want to onboard just wallets. We need these people. And to close this out, though, when I keep saying like real-world use cases or Web 2, it's like thinking like the old system, not really blending in with it, but obviously taking a lot of inspiration from it. Switching out buttons that say launch app to log in, just little simple things like that go a long way to really help like the average person. And this is a quote from the SEC commissioner previously, I think. I don't know if she's there anymore. Caroline Crenshaw, just that bolded part, why are we spending so much energy linking it to the existing financial system? I would say that about all, like Web 2 type things. Like we want to be like an average application, but maybe still trying to blend into it too much. It's more just kind of like taking inspiration. Like we can still create the separate world that we all love and know with crypto, with decentralization, but we don't have to replicate and actually like merge in with Web 2. And finally, because we're Kraken, I like to close with apologize to no one, build transparently. Crypto and Ethereum has always had PMF from day one, and build simply. That's it.